Yes!
Alright, we're gonna get started again.
Oh, that was the call to attention.
Yeah.
I don't think you read it.
No, totally didn't. Even after I
Nathan's talking. I'm like his big sister or his mom or something. It's weird.
Sister and you're the overbearing older sister that I already had one of. Apparently not. So part of what we do, part of the intent of what we're doing here is giving artists that we like an opportunity to sort of try something new. And Alma had mentioned to me a while ago that she had this idea for a toy theater piece, so you know, we decided to give her this framework to do the piece. So this is, you know, for those of you who are artists who haven't worked with us or who haven't worked with us yet, that's sort of what we're hoping to do with this, is more of, you know, giving artists whose work we really connect to or just really think is interesting and unique a framework and an opportunity to explore new ideas that they haven't really felt comfortable or had the opportunity to explore in another context. So, do you have anything you want to say about this?
I do a lot of work with the People's Puppets out of Occupy Wall Street. So the interest that we have is creating good art that is a lot of fun and involved to watch, but that also brings up some sort of social or political justice idea. So this is the first part of a longer piece that we put together that are fairy tales based around various forms of death. So, ladies and gentlemen, jelly spoons and cupcakes, and everyone in between, thank you for coming. Welcome to the story of Little Red Riding Hood, or a story about student debt. Once upon a time, there lived a very sweet little girl. Everyone loved her, but especially her grandmother, who made her a Red Riding Hood. Now this girl loved the hood so much, and she wore the hood so often, that she became known as Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother said to her, "Little Red Riding Hood, your grandmother is very ill. You need to take this basket to her, filled with wine and cakes, to make her feel better. Mind your manners, send her my love, and as you go, be sure to not go off the path, for if you do, you might fall and ruin the basket." Little Red Riding Hood agreed with her mother and went off down the path. As Little Red Riding Hood went, she came across a wolf. Now Little Red Riding Hood had never met a wolf before, and she did not know how tricky and cunning they could be, so she was not afraid of the wolf. And when the wolf said, "Hello there, Little Red Riding Hood," Little Red Riding Hood said, "Hello, Mr. Wolf. And where are you going this fine early morning?" "To my dear grandmother's house. She is sick." "And what is that you are carrying?" "A basket with some cakes and wine from my mother, to bring my grandmother to give her strength." Now the wolf was a conniving wolf, and a very hungry wolf, so he could hardly keep from smacking his lips at the thought of the cakes and wine in Little Red Riding Hood's basket, or the sight of the girl's plump flesh, or the thought of that frail grandmother waiting alone. "Little Red Riding Hood, where does your grandmother live?" "Her house is a good quarter of an hour from here in the woods, under 3 large oak trees," said Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf thought a moment, then said, "Listen, Little Red Riding Hood, haven't you seen the beautiful flowers that are blossoming in the woods? Wouldn't you like to go and take a look? Your sick grandmother would love a pretty to go with her cakes and wine. And it is so beautiful out here in the woods. Little Red Riding Hood looked around and saw the sunlight breaking through the trees and how the ground in the field was covered in flowers. She thought, if I take a bouquet to Grandmother, she will be very pleased. Anyway, it's still early and I'll be there on time. So she ran off into the woods, off the path, looking for flowers. Each time she picked one, she thought she saw another, even more beautiful, and she went even further and further from the path. Meanwhile, the wolf followed the path and went straight to Grandmother's house. When the wolf got to Grandmother's house, he scratched at the door. Who is it? Replied Grandmother. It is I, Little Red Riding Hood, bringing you cake and wine. Let me in. And the grandmother was always a bit hard of hearing, and she was sick. So she said, just press the latch, dear. I'm too ill to get up. The wolf pressed the latch, walked in, went straight to the bed, and ate up the grandmother in one gulp. After that, he put on her clothes, put her cap over his head, got into bed, and waited. Little Red Riding Hood had run after flowers all morning, and did not continue on her way to Grandmother's until it was quite late. When she arrived at the cottage door, she was surprised to find it open, and called out, "Grandmother, it's Little Red Riding Hood. Are you there?" The wolf said, "I'm here, dear. Just come on in." Little Red Riding Hood was not hard of hearing, but she was a bit naive, so she walked in and went towards the bed and saw the grandmother looking very strange. Grandmother, what big ears you have. All the better to hear you with, my dear. But grandmother, what big eyes you have. All the better to see you with, my dear. But grandmother, what big, horrible teeth you have. All the better to eat you with, my dear. And the wolf jumped up, leapt out of bed, grabbed Little Red Riding Hood and ate her in one gulp. After that, the wolf lied down, went to sleep, and started to snore very loudly. Later that afternoon, a huntsman happened to be walking by. He thought it very strange that such loud snores were coming from the cottage of that nice old lady who lived down the lane. He decided to look inside, just to check on her. The huntsman stepped into the woods, and to his surprise, saw the wolf, the same conniving wolf he had been hunting for such a long time. He has eaten the grandmother, but perhaps she can be saved, thought the huntsman. So he took his great axe, and he chopped open the wolf's belly. So deeply asleep was the wolf that he didn't wake up the entire thing. Quick as a flash, Little Red Riding Hood and the grandmother jumped out, alive and well. The three of them together held down the wolf and put stones in his belly, so that when he woke, he was unable to move and soon died. So the huntsman, the grandmother, and Little Red Riding Hood were happy. The huntsman took the wolf's pelt. Grandmother got to eat the cake and wine and felt much better. As for Little Red Riding Hood, after experiencing the hardships around student loan debt, she decided to get involved. She found out more information through campaigns such as Student Loan Justice and Forgive Student Loan Debt to stimulate the economy. She participated in activism to push for federal policies to restore bankruptcy protection for students and partial debt forgiveness. She organized workshops with Occupy Student Debt for the Free University campaign, pushing the idea that knowledge should be free and accessible to all, and that our institutions of education should be transparent and accountable with their financial needs. Though she was already in debt, though the struggle seemed to some impractical, Little Red Riding Hood knew in her heart that her mind and the minds of the future were worth fighting for. The end.
Yay.
If anyone is interested in more information, I have a copy of the Debt Resisters Manual, which was self-published by Occupy and is actually just about to be professionally published as well.
Oh, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wunderbar.
I have that one. It's great.
Yeah?
Who's